When I first arrived at our new house on Maple Crest Drive, I carried more than just a suitcase in my hand. I carried anger, grief, and a deep refusal to let anyone new into my life. My father, Daniel Brooks, had remarried a year after my mother passed away. I was 16 then, and I believed no one could replace her. So when I met my stepmother, Laura Brooks, I decided instantly, I wouldn't like her, wouldn't talk to her, and wouldn't let her change anything about me. Laura stood at the door that first evening, smiling nervously. She wasn't trying to be overly cheerful or force affection. She simply said, "Welcome home, Ryan," as if I'd already belonged there forever. I ignored her greeting and walked straight past her without a word. The early months were uncomfortable. At dinner I barely spoke. If Laura tried to ask about school or friends, I answered with one-word replies. Part of me wanted her to stop trying, just so I could feel justified in pushing her away. But she never stopped showing quiet kindness. Each morning breakfast was waiting at the table, even though I barely touched it. My favorite cereal appeared one day without me ever mentioning it. My laundry somehow always ended up folded neatly on my bed. If I had a bad day and slammed my bedroom door, no one scolded me. Laura would just lightly knock later and say, "Dinner's ready if you feel like joining." And I never did. I overheard her once late at night talking to my father in the kitchen. I stood in the hallway, unseen. "He's hurting," Laura said softly. "He just doesn't know how to show it yet." Her voice carried no frustration, only concern. Something shifted in me then. Weeks later, I failed a big math test. I usually didn't care enough to let anyone know, but Laura noticed the paper sticking out of my bag when I dropped it near the door. She didn't confront me. She didn't lecture me. That evening, she slipped a handwritten note onto my desk. "I know some days are harder than others. You don't have to face them alone." There was also a math tutor schedule attached. She had researched help without embarrassing me. For the first time since my mom's death, I sat on my bed and cried. No adult had gone out of their way like that for me, not since losing the person who used to do everything. From that day on, something changed between us. I started sitting at the dinner table. I answered questions with full sentences. I noticed Laura always listened more than she talked. When she laughed, it sounded warm, real, not forced. One Saturday she asked if I wanted help cleaning out the old garage. I almost said no out of habit, then shrugged and agreed. As we sorted boxes together, I found an old box of my mother's belongings I didn't know we still had. I froze. Laura noticed and stepped back, giving me space. "Take your time," she said gently. She never tried to replace my mother. She honored her, and in doing so, she earned my trust. Months passed. School improved. My walls came down. I found myself sharing stories about my mom, about sports, about stress, things I'd kept bottled up inside for years. Then came graduation day. As I crossed the stage, diploma in hand, I searched the crowd. I saw my dad cheering with both hands overhead. Next to him stood Laura, eyes full of tears, clapping louder than everyone else. I waved at her instead of my dad. After the ceremony, she didn't say much, just hugged me and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Ryan." No big speeches, just love. That night on the porch, as we took photos together as a family, I realized that something I never expected had already happened long ago. She never tried to be my mother. She became something just as important. The person who stayed when I desperately needed someone to stay. And that made all the difference.